Do these trades make sense for the Seattle Mariners? Let's talk about it. So per usual, I posted over on X that you guys are Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander and give me trades that you think will make the Seattle Mariners better in 2025. So there's going to be a few that we're going to be going over and see if these really do make any sense for the Seattle Mariners to go out and do this offseason. But I want to start off with a little bit of a bonus one that I think is very unrealistic, but I think really does make a lot of sense. This one was done by Rainier Sports, and it says the Mariners trade Brian Wu to the Chicago Cubs, and the Mariners receive Nico Horner, Isak Paredes, plus a major league caliber bullpen arm. And then in free agency, the Mariners go out and sign Blake Snell. And at the bottom it says, all of a sudden your third base, second base issues are addressed and you have a better starting rotation with a lefty in the mix. So I would say yes, to me, this definitely does make a lot of sense for the Mariners to do because it solves a lot of problems and it also does get a lefty into the rotation, which is something we know the Mariners do not have. So I think this definitely does solve those problems. But again, I think it is extremely unrealistic to think the Seattle Mariners are going to go out and do this. But like I said, I do like the idea. But anyway, let's move into the other trades. Sean with a U over on Blue Sky said third baseman Alex Bohm from the Phillies in exchange for 2 top 30 prospects, both that are not in the M's top 10 in prospects. Now, I'm a big believer that Alec Bohm makes a ton of sense to be the everyday third baseman for the Seattle Mariners. He will not cost too much. He's only expected to make $8 million in 2025, and he's also going to be in his third year of arbitration eligibility in 2026. So realistically, this would actually save the Mariners a lot of money if they were to go out and make this trade with the Phillies. Now, in terms of what it would take, I think it would take probably a little bit higher of a prospect capital in return for the Phillies to really listen on this trade, as well as maybe some MLB player, whether that's someone like Josh Rojas or maybe Dylan Moore, something of the sort to just kind of spice up the deal a little bit. So I do believe Alec Bohm is continuing to get better every single year. He did struggle towards the second half of the season, and as we know, he was actually benched in the playoffs, and it did come out that he does kind of have an attitude problem. AJ Przinsky revealed in the Foul Territory show that he needs to improve things, not his performance, let's just say. People around the organization aren't a huge fan of how he acts. People have said that he basically needs to grow up, and so this is, as an outside team, this is definitely something that you have to take into consideration, is will this guy be a clubhouse problem? Now, this may be just the biased Mariners fan in me, but I think the Mariners do have a pretty solid clubhouse, and I don't really think a guy having a bad attitude such as this would really make it that long. I think he would obviously have to fix that, and having a guy like Justin Turner, if they do bring him back, would be a nice leader for him to have in the clubhouse. So I like this trade idea a lot. I think 2 higher level prospects, maybe like top 20, gets it done, as well as an MLB ready player, and it gives the Mariners an everyday third baseman that can perform and also will come very cheap. So yes, I do think this is definitely something the Seattle Mariners can pull off this offseason. So this next one brings up a player I have not heard anywhere being traded, but this is a pretty cool idea that the Mariners will get Willie Castro and the Twins get Ben Williamson and Teddy McGraw. And if you are unfamiliar with who Ben Williamson and Teddy McGraw are, Teddy McGraw is the 14th ranked prospect in the Mariners system. He's currently in single A and he's a right-handed pitcher, while Ben Williamson is a third baseman at the AA level and is expected to have an ETA in the majors by 2026. He's also the 15th ranked prospect in the Mariners farm system. So I think in general, this deal kind of does make a little bit of sense. I think you're kind of dealing with 2 higher end prospects being in the top 15, each of them. So I don't know if really the Mariners would pursue something like this, especially since Willie Castro is a massive utility player. He's coming off his best year yet with a 3.1 WAR and a 108 WRC+, but he does strike out a decent amount with not a lot of power and hits for pretty decent average at a 247 clip that he did in 2024. And the other issue that I have with this trade as well, like I said, I do like the idea in Willie Castro. He's played shortstop, second base, left field, center field, third base, all in 2024. So he is definitely a very good utility player. But there's 2 things that stand out to me is one, that Dylan Moore is still a Seattle Mariner. So if Dylan Moore is going to be a Seattle Mariner, he's probably going to be the main utility guy. So it really doesn't make any sense that the Mariners would want to target another utility guy when they already have Demo. And the other thing you have to take into consideration when doing this is that you are basically trading 2 top 15 prospects for 1 year of Willie Castro, which in my opinion isn't really incentivizing for the Seattle Mariners. If Willie Castro was under, a 3-year deal that they would get him, through the 2028 season, that would make more sense for the Mariners because Demo being a free agent next year, they wouldn't have to worry about it and they could just keep Willie Castro there for the next 3 years. So I do like the idea, and it is a player that we have not really discussed at all, but I don't really see it working, at least on the Seattle Mariners side. I definitely see how it could be incentivizing for the Twins, but not really the Mariners. Now moving into the last trade that I definitely thought was worth talking about, and this is Cole Young, Harry Ford, and Tyler Goff to the Cardinals for Brendan Donovan and Ryan Helsley. So at least starting off with what the Seattle Mariners are giving up, they are giving up their number 2, their number 4, and their number 17 prospect for essentially 1 year of Helsley, as well as 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, of Brendan Donovan. Now we have discussed Ryan Helsley in a previous video with whether the Mariners could make a trade with the Cardinals, and don't get me wrong, Helsley would be a great piece to add to the back end of this bullpen, and that is a very dominant 4-piece in the bullpen with Santos, Munoz, Helsley, and then obviously Brash coming back hopefully earlier in the season. And then giving a little bit of background on Brendan Donovan, who has played 3 seasons in Major League Baseball now. In 2024, he played left field, second base, third base, DH, and right field, with mainly left field being his main position. In his 3 seasons, he's posted up a 127, a 118, and a 115 WRC plus, with a 2.7 WAR, 1.5 WAR, and his best career WAR in 2024, which was a 3.2. He strikes out at an extremely low clip, only 12.4% in 2024, and hits 278 average, 14 home runs, 73 RBIs, 5 stolen bases. So while I'm definitely intrigued by the player that Brendan Donovan is, there's a few things that you have to take into consideration. One being that you're getting rid of some major prospects in the farm system in Cole Young and Harry Ford. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong, Brendan Donovan is a great player to acquire, and if he's willing to play an everyday role at second base, this is definitely something I'm interested in. And knowing what we know about the Cardinals and trying to shed payroll and getting rid of guys like Nolan Arenado, they are definitely looking for prospects in return. But touching your 2 and 4 for Brendan Donovan is really just not the best move you could possibly make if you're the Seattle Mariners. If you want to talk the discussion of maybe a prospect in the top 10, anywhere from 7 to 10, and then maybe another 1 or 2 in the top 20, you kind of have my attention. Especially if you're throwing Ryan Helsley, who is going to be a free agent after the 2025 season, into the deal just to sweeten it for the Mariners. But to me, and as you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of prospect hugging. I do believe that if you're going to get rid of 2 top 5 prospects, you better be getting a massive haul in return. And in my opinion, Brendan Donovan just really does not do that for me. But I do kind of like where your mind is at this. And like I said, if Brendan Donovan is willing to play an everyday second base role, I am extremely intrigued in the Mariners trying to go out and maybe make a deal for him, just not using the top 5 prospects. So overall, I think these trades are definitely realistic. I think they definitely need a little bit of adjusting in terms of sweetening it, especially for the Mariners, because they'd be giving up a lot in some of these deals for guys that only have for 1 year, or, giving up some major prospects in these deals. But if I had to pick one that is definitely my favorite and one that I think the Mariners should really consider doing, is going out and getting Alec Boehm to play everyday third base. Jeff Passan had even mentioned that he is definitely on the trade block for the Phillies, and has been mentioned before that him, Nick Castellanos, a few of those other guys will be on the trade block for the Phillies this offseason. So that is definitely a trade piece that I really wish the Mariners would try to pursue this offseason and hopefully get an everyday third baseman. But please let me know what you guys think of these trades and which ones you'd maybe adjust a little bit, or which one was your favorite. Otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.